So in order to install the Erexx dampener, you need to get the scooter. This is the Dualtron Storm. You need to get it down to this, basically down to this, where you have the whole front assembly taken off. And how you do that is you undo these two top bolts here that hold on the stem with a 10mm and a 5mm, 10mm bolt and a 5mm hex. And then there's a E-clip pin, which I basically just used a pair of needle nose pliers to pop that out. And then you get down to this here, where you have just the head assembly, and the stem is completely removed, and the stem attachment is completely removed. This is the Erexx dampener kit that I got in. I'm not sure if it's the newest one because it has it's probably the second in line, but I actually like it because it has the notched collar, and it's going to sit flush with the head bolt, so I'm okay with it. And the Erexx dampener, wow, just an excellent piece of machinery, very, very well made. You can tell just by the look and feel of it, it's an excellent piece of equipment. Here is the Erexx dampener we're going to install. That is the ring bolt we're going to put around the neck. That is the shackle that's going to go around the stem of the scooter at the base of the stem. Now we have the Erexx dampener installed on the scooter, and what we're doing now is just adjusting it for the height to make sure that it's meeting the edge of the frame level, and then we're going to go ahead and install the top cap ring on the top nut. In my case, it did take a little bit of tamping this dampener down with a tool, like the back end of a screwdriver. I used the rubber end of a crowbar. I'll show you. You may have to tamp down the dampener onto the frame because it's a little snug, which is fine. I use this rubber-ended crowbar piece. But basically now it's on there. It's a little bit loose. I'm just leaving it a little bit loose to make sure I get it set on there properly and straight. And then I'm going to tighten it up using Loctite. Now I'm going to take out each one of the grub screws on each of the four sides, and I'm going to put in some thread locker, Loctite, and I'm going to do them in a cross pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Before I do that, I'm going to put on the top cap piece and connect it and make sure that it lines up properly. Now you can see I've installed the top nut cap that actually goes and slides into the groove there, and now I'm going to tighten this bolt up and then put the bar together and put the E-clips on and get it ready to go. What I'm testing right now, just to make sure that when I turn the wheel, it doesn't scrape or grind on the dampener, and there's a little bit of a space between there for it to ride. Now I've tightened all the 4 grub screws down with Loctite, not too tight of course, just snug tight. And there's 4 on each side, 2 on each side, and do them as a cross hatch pattern, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then tighten them the same way. And now that's on there really good, pretty much solid like it's part of the frame. And now I'm putting on the dampener arm and clipping on the E-clips on the bottom. And now we're at the final stages. I've put the whole assembly back together here. I'm putting the bolts in for the stem now and bolting the stem back together. But before I bolt this part back together, I'm actually going to do a brass mod, where I'm actually going to take a shim of brass and put it in there, and that's going to gap it up so it doesn't wiggle very much, and makes it much tighter in the steering as well. This doesn't need it yet because it hasn't, it's still very tight, but eventually this will need it as well. This will also need a brass mod, and you can also do it up here on the neck. I have mine covered by a light. You can see back here there's the same bolt pattern, And it's basically the same setup as it is down here for the bottom of the stem. So you basically can, line this with brass. I'm lining this with brass and then putting the bolts in afterwards. And that's going to make it a little more stable so there's less forward and back movement when I'm driving. And now we have the Erexx stabilizer installed. It works really well. I just took it for a ride. You can see it offers resistance, and it offers resistance to a point. When you get to about here, the resistance releases. It also has a stop point. You see it stops there, and it also stops there. So it prevents you from actually oversteering and causing yourself to flip. I also did the brass mod in here where I actually add brass in there. You can see it shining in there. It actually tightens up the stem and makes it very, very stiff. Later on, if this loosens up, I'll add brass there, and also here in the neck, you can also add it. And that is the dampener mod for the Dualtron Storm. And this is the dampener mod installed properly. I actually like this one better than the quick install because it actually sits better on the collar, and I know it's not going to come off. This 780 bar, along with the brass mod and the Erexx stabilizer, really help you maintain control of the scooter. I also have this little Speedway 5, which I've done the same thing by doing suspension mods to it to make it more stable. And actually, quite honestly, this one actually can get up to speed faster in some respects than this one. There is a small amount of play here, but I think that as time goes on, I can gap that up with brass as well, because there's just brass fittings in there. So if it becomes a problem, you just take a shim of brass and stuff it in there and tighten it up. But for now, it seems to be doing really, really well. And as you can see, I have it set to a certain setting that I like, so that it doesn't really eliminate death wobble so much as it helps you control the condition, right? That with the brass mods and everything else help you regain control faster. I also have a 780 bar, as you can see, a huge 780 bar, what makes it very easy to control the scooter.